As ever, I'll share some information with you at the beginning, but your questions, points are not limited to the information I share with you. You can ask whatever you want. But I thought, just in terms of a few headline numbers, we have a weekly dashboard of key indicators around COVID that we put out, and I'll just share a few of those numbers with you, but you can have access to it yourselves as well. As of today, latest confirmed cases of COVID-19 for us in Bristol are 672. Number of shielded residents, interesting, 7,085 shielded people in Bristol that we obviously have to take care of. That just talks about the scale of the challenge that we're taking on as a city. Total cumulative number of council tax reduction applications, 3,623. That will also feed back into the challenge we shared with you about local government finance, because this is a major part of our income, but also it's a huge part of how we support people to financially get through the challenging time. Also, just stress on the performance of our team in getting the money out to business. Number of business grants awarded, 6,078. And I think I saw two charts last week. One had us in the top 10, one had us at number 8. Local authorities performing in getting that money out through the door into the accounts of businesses. From Bristol City Council Community Service, 7,454 food packages delivered to people across Bristol. We know there'll be many more than that, because that's what we do, but we have the whole infrastructure that we've been working with over the last few years on tackling child hunger that's been diverted into poverty hunger. Cases of calls last week to the We Are Bristol helpline, and that's the emergency line that we've put up for people who are either themselves or see other people in very bad circumstances and need support. We had 117 calls last week to the helpline. That's less, and it's less over weekends, but that's seen a steady weekly decrease in the number of emergency calls to us over the weeks as well, which I hope is an indication that those people who've needed support have been contacted and are getting that support. You'll know very well, 3,900 people registered on the We Can Do Bristol website. Great sign of Bristol's volunteerism and stepping up. 266 rough sleepers in our hotel and emergency accommodation that we've managed to acquire. And as I've shared, that number does go up and down because the circumstances around many of the individuals are quite complex. People continue to come into the city, but 266. And also, there's a little scorecard, 120 fixed penalty notices delivered, which would be an interesting baseline figure for you as we think about how the new, the next iteration of lockdown rules are monitoring and landing with the population. So you can obviously pursue us for more information on any of those items. As promised, we wanted to share today an update on transport and the improvements that we want to bring in place now to make sure there's a better public transport, that our infrastructure supports our bus network, but also that we have safer walking and cycling routes, both for the sake of air quality, for active travel and social distancing at this time as well. So we do have a huge challenge with COVID. No need to explain that. But what it also does, when you have these periods of major turmoil, you do find opportunities coming forward. And at the moment, with government promising to release money for infrastructure development, we do have this opportunity to look at our transport infrastructure. So the first is around the pedestrianisation of the old city, which I announced, and I've talked about a number of times, but I talked about it in my 2019 State of the City speech, where I said, through traffic will bypass the city central areas completely. This will enable pedestrianisation of the old city and the city centre, and this will deliver cleaner air, safe space for walking and cycling, while supporting our local economy, jobs, and connectivity. And because of the funds that we are being promised now, this is something that we are able to accelerate. And so we're bringing this through on an experimental transport regulatory order to put in place the pedestrianisation of the old city. It won't happen tomorrow. We finalise the plans, then there's about 6 weeks. So we're talking about over the latter part of the summer period, we'll be able to implement it. That experimental order will be in place for anything between 6 months to 2 years. But during that time, it gives us the space to do the work behind the scenes, to test it, to see how it's landing, to make sure that all our stakeholders have their full say in how it should be designed and how it's running, and to make it permanent. Secondly, the closure of Bristol Bridge to cars, which is something that we first highlighted when we were talking about the bus deal, and actually around our plans for our mass transit system. And again, this is something we are also able to accelerate because of the money that's we're being told is being released by government. So that work is underway now. And again, experimental traffic regulation order will be able to bring this through. And finally, the third piece of this is around our high streets, and a whole schedule of works around widening pavements for pedestrians, and improving cycling facilities on those high streets as well. And again, we'll be drawing on that money that's been promised by government for that across our city. So among the examples, I think you have listed of those in the packs that were sent out to you. We're talking about sustainable transport, walking and cycling measures on Victoria Street and counter-slip cycle lanes around the Clifton Triangle, which would involve the removal of some parking, and the removal of a traffic lane on Marlborough Street and Park Row. Again, removal of parking and a traffic lane where necessary, and look into pavement widening for local shopping areas, Bedminster Parade, Stapleton Road, St Mark's Road, Henleys, that will also include suspension of parking, along with that widening of pavements, not parents, sorry. Redcatch Road to Oakmead Road, North Street, Minor Road, among others. There is another, so those are the three prongs of those improvements we want to bring forward. We're accelerating. In the backdrop to this as well is our mass transit system. The work has been ongoing. The technical work on that mass transit system has been ongoing. What we are also doing with that scheme now is putting it forward as part of the Western Gateway and with the core cities as one of the major infrastructure projects the government should be accelerating in to stimulate our economic regeneration. Our argument is that these kind of infrastructure projects can be brought forward to stimulate the economy, but to stimulate a green economy by making sure that we are giving people good quality public transport, and there are other infrastructure projects we'll bring through on housing and retrofitting homes and so forth. But we believe that the mass transit system should be really at the top of the list of things government should be investing in to get our economy going and get our economy going in the right way. But happy to take any questions or points of clarification. And if it's something I can't answer right now, then we can send you information after this as well. Shall I leave it up to you to broker, Saskia, so I don't look like I'm picking favourites? I did intervene a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how well it was received.
Yeah, you did.
But who went first?
Let's go for Max.
Good choice, Saskia. Marvin, I just wanted to check, with the plans, I know that's they've sort of been accelerated, as you said, due to this funding available from central government. Is that funding, is that something you'll have to bid for, and is it dependent on that funding, or is that something that's already been confirmed and kind of plans are ready to kind of go full steam ahead?
Well, the government have confirmed it, the money. We know that, again, the Metro Mayor Combined Authority backs our plans because he tweeted about it last night, supporting the works on cycling and pedestrianisation. We anticipate, at the moment, of the 250 million announced, we should, as a region, get about 4 million, and obviously being in the city centre, we anticipate getting a chunk of that in real hot point for congestion, and having a dense working area that people need to be social distancing in. So yeah, we'd be pretty confident that will be coming through. But this is about acceleration. Our plans have always been there, and we've always been working on them. What we see now is the opportunity to accelerate delivery of those plans. As you've heard, I mean, citing back to the bus deal and the state of the city.
That's great, thanks.
Okay, Ellie, do you have anything you want to ask?
Sorry, get to unmute. Yeah, thanks, Saskia. Hi, Marvin.
Hi.
So looking at a share of around 4 million, I guess you don't know any more detail in terms of how that will be broken down for Bristol.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to be presumptuous. We have a regional meeting I got one this afternoon actually with the PCC as well, but on Thursdays and Fridays. So obviously there'll be work to be done then. But I mean, the major concentration of people happens in the middle of Bristol. So we want the whole area to benefit. North Somerset, Bath and North East Somerset, South Gloucestershire. Well, we'd expect to get an amount that's appropriate to the scale of challenge we face.
And can I just also ask about timescales? You mentioned end of the summer for the Old City and I think Bristol Bridge. What about some of the pavement widening? And that's when are we actually looking at this being implemented?
We think we can bring some of those through in a matter of weeks, much quicker. And the whole team and are under that, have got our support to bring things through as quickly as possible. So a matter of weeks. But there's also a nice touch, if I can say, Ellie, just even when we're talking about bollards to prevent cars, we're really trying to avoid concrete bollards. Concrete is one of the filthiest industries on the planet. We're using water-filled bollards as well, just to, just cleaner to use, for the environment as well. So we are thinking about the small things as well as the big things here.
And I'm guessing the things like the pavement widening, would they be permanent? I know you said that the pedestrianisation is going to be for 6 months to 2-year period to just sort of check that's all working. Is that the same for the whole scheme, or is it going to be pavements and cycle lanes are going to be permanent changes?
No, we'll take the same approach. That's the point with the experimental. It's one of the points that, I mean, like I said, it's my usual thing. I don't engage in discussions on Twitter, but the kind of Twitter line that this is just easy, you should just do it. All it takes is political will is perfectly frank, quite naive. We've done a lot of thinking about the unintended consequences, which is what we've been talking about from the beginning. What this experimental order offers us an opportunity to do is, having thought about those unintended consequences and believing that we've anticipated them, to try it out, and then we can review it as we go and get the feedback from the city and make the appropriate changes as we move into, clearly, what we do need to move into, a new way of transporting people around the city and the facilities we offer. So the idea is to go permanent, but it will be permanent with the input of the city, having learned lessons on how it plays itself out.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Pete, do you have anything you want to ask?
Thanks, Saskia. Hi, Marvin. Hi, everyone. I've spoken to a couple of businesses on Baldwin Street today, and they're obviously a bit worried because of the way things are anyway at the moment. But one of the things that cropped up is they don't understand why Bristol Bridge and Baldwin Street would be closed to through traffic, as well as having a diesel ban in that area. That seems like a sort of double policy there, double whammy as far as they're concerned. So does this mean that the diesel ban is now sort of not in your thinking? No,
but we have shared that in light of what's happened, that the clean air zone is being looked at, and the approach we take, and we were asked to look at other options by government as well. But no, I mean, the plans are still are still in place. I don't see how they undermine had a conflict in any way. It just means that private cars won't be going down Baldwin Street.
And one of them also said that this would be the final nail in the coffin, and they were a bit put out that they hadn't been consulted. So you talked about the unintended consequences. But are you able to confirm that a lot of the businesses haven't been sort of approached about this in advance and consulted about it?
Look, I mean, we've been talking to people for a long time about our plans for the city, and we've made them public. And you'll be aware we have a transport board, and we work with the city office on our plans for the city continually. So these conversations are live. There are going to be people that we haven't talked to directly. Of course there are. But that's the point we've been making. Running a city is not easy. And you would have seen over the last few, for years actually, people just saying, this is my issue, I want you to do it. Our refrain constantly on this, on the clean air zone is, wait there are other interested stakeholders. So we have always made a point of looking at issues, not as single issues, but as multi-dimensional issues with many stakeholders with unintended consequences. We have constantly done that. The point about this experiment, or as I stressed at the beginning, was it gives us a chance to do it, but also to make sure that all the stakeholders, everyone with an interest, has an opportunity to speak into it before anything is made permanent.
Thanks. Is that all, Pete?
All right, thanks.
Okay. Adam, do you have anything you want to check?
Yeah, thanks, Saskia. Hi, Marvin. Hi, everyone. Couple of quick things. What's happening with the recycling centres now? Because I know other parts of the country where they have been reopened, it wasn't exactly an orderly scene, and there was somebody I know said that they were queues from 3 a.m. and police had to be called. I understand that's going to be pretty tricky. What's the situation with those?
Yeah, we are anticipating a challenge. So ours are due to open on the 18th. We've been talking with our neighbours as well across Bath, North East Somerset, North Somerset and South Gloucestershire. We talked as a collection of leaders, recognising the tendency of people to move cross boundaries as well, to make sure we did it in an orderly way, across the patch. And our officers have been working together for weeks on that, since we had wind, of the new government request that we open them up again. So there are a number of things we have to take into account. One is we would anticipate, just like the rest of the country, that there would be a deluge of people. So we're thinking about how we thin that out through, say, odds and evens on people's vehicle registrations. But we'll also be looking at how we manage traffic around the recycling and reuse centres as well, which is going to be massively important, because obviously if they're accused, they'll go back onto the road. And also, a minor but important point is, if people turn up with the wrong registration, we will be telling them as they join the queue, not when they get to the gate, so they're not sitting there for ages getting angry. It's also a bit of a challenge for us as well, and this is where announcements made behind the podium in Whitehall don't always work well when they land locally. The police have got no resources to manage the queues, and you'd expect that. They're police officers. They don't, as a normal course of events, manage people going in and out of our reuse recycling centres. So I respect that. But what they are going to do is obviously be on hand in case tempers fray. So we're just really going to be asking people just to minimise their trips. It is not an essential trip. But if you do have to go, and we do stress, if you have to go, because we're urging people to stay at home, please be patient. Please make sure you're going on the right, and please make sure you're going on the right day. But if you can store your rubbish at home, please continue to do so, and give it some time so we can even out demand.
Adam, we've got a press release that we have got ready to issue as well. I think, is that going today, Ali?
Yes, it
Yeah, so we'll send you over. So there's some other innovative things, like people can look online at the queue. So we'll be live streaming the queue, so people can make a decision before they leave the house, whether they want to sit in that queue. So we'll send that through to you shortly. Have you got
put that live on the Bristol Live website, Adam?
Yeah, there you go. Nice bit of content. Anything else, Adam?
Yeah, just one question. I know the council, from what I understand, is with public toilets. I think there's only the ones left in parks because of the community toilet scheme that came in a couple of years ago. And it's an issue that's come up with in other areas on our patch, most notably North Somerset, with the new government advice that you can now go to beaches and you can now sunbathe. The problems there is that a lot of the public toilets are closed. What's the situation in Bristol if you suddenly get an influx of visitors who can now visit places, whether that's advisable or not? Because there's places like North Somerset, for example, there's an influx and no facilities available.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting challenge with so many of our venues that have joined the community toilet scheme closed down. Adam, I'll have to have a look at that. It's not a scenario I've run through myself at this point in time, but it just goes to the heart of one of the challenges we've been sharing, that national government's approach should be shaped by those leaders on the ground as well. It should be informed by that. We shouldn't be in a situation whereby we don't know what government are going to say until they announce it on the news with everyone else. And then we spend the next day and a half working out what it means for Bristol or Birmingham or Leeds or Liverpool. That, you know, and these kind of challenges that you're raising are ones that, if we were given a chance, we would raise with government and get them to help us develop a really coherent response to it. As it comes with so many of these things, we end up, working out what it means and then making sure that we forge a strong way through for Bristol. So we need to change that around, but we'll have a look at that and we can give you more information on it. Yeah?
Very much appreciated. Thank you.
And Adam, in one additional point in terms of parks that we were going to mention is that tomorrow car parks will be back open in our Bristol parks. And we are looking at the other things the government announced regarding tennis courts, etc., and sports facilities. We must ensure public health safety first, and a lot of our tennis courts, for example, are not just one individual one, so we need to look at how we do that safely. But from tomorrow, I think people will be pleased that they can park in our car parks again.
Great, thanks.
Paul, I know we're having a chat in a minute anyway. Did you have anything you wanted to do now? No, super. Marvin, is it? Oh, sorry, Max, did you have one?
Sorry, there was just one thing which I might have just missed, but with back on the timescales of the pedestrianisation, I know for the old city we kind of had a rough timescale, but for Baldwin Street and Bristol Bridge, is there any idea of the timescale there?
They'll be around the same ballpark there. Yeah.
Great, that's great. Thanks.
Okay.
Super.
So I think basically for from the moment of the designs are finalised, which there is happening now, there's about 6 weeks from implementation. We have to go. There is a process we have to go through, as you would imagine. Yeah.